Welcome into Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Super excited you are here today. You know why? You made it. You made it to 2025. Let that sink in. You've made it past COVID. Yes. You've made it past 40 for some of you. Yes. Or you're almost to 50. I'm excited that you're here today. We start a brand new, shiny season today. Christmas is done. Everything's put away. The champagne is now set aside. We now start day one of a brand new year. And maybe even a brand new you. Now, listen, you can't just find a brand new you on eBay. No, I looked, by the way. No, in fact, I've done some soul searching of my own. In this new season called X-Ray, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to look beyond what we can see. When I was a kid, I really fell in love with the cartoon Thundercats. For those kids of the 80s, you might remember Lion-O and Chitara and Panthro and Tigra. My wife, who? It's okay. Snarf. Yeah, that was a character. Lynxo, Bengali, Pumaira, just to name a few, if not all of them. Wily Kid, Wily Cat, I think I covered them all now. Lion-O would hold the Sword of Omens up to his eyes. Again, he's a cat, so his eyes would go cat-like, and he would say, "Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight." So today I'm going to ask for you to maybe invoke that saying. Neil, help me get sight beyond sight. Help me get beyond what I'm seeing. Our guest this season, we're going to take us beyond what we can see, beyond the book cover. So hope you will join me each and every week from now till April. We'll be in this season called X-Ray. I thought we'd take it back to the old school. Lucas, take it away.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Paging Neil Matthews. Paging Neil Matthews. We have a new patient for X-Ray. Hello, I've paged our host, Neil Matthews. He will be right with you. In the meantime, please find a seat, take a deep breath, and relax. Welcome to Season 19 of Other People's Shoes, called X-Ray. We're exploring what we call sight beyond sight, taking a deep look into the unseen damage and aspects of people's lives. We hope you leave today with encouragement, advice for facing similar challenges, and even a perspective shift. After hearing from our guests, we hope they give you the sight beyond sight. Here's our host, Neil Matthews.
Thank you, one and all. Welcome into Other People's Shoes. This is our lobby. This is our check-in. Did you meet with our receptionist? Did you fill out the 87 forms that it takes to see the doctor today? Don't worry, no medical experiments will be done today. We do hope to have you in and out in an hour, and we do validate. The worst thing in the world, outside of going to the dentist, it really is going to the doctor. Now, I know some people would argue and fight and bicker. Dentists, they're really doctors, but are they? I don't know. I know my doctor, he's retired now. Is it a HIPAA violation to tell you who my doctor is? He was always late. And to me, I always feel like there's such an excitement about being on time. I know my wife is going to hear this back, and she said, an excitement about being on time. You really believe that? Because I am late to everything. I have late being the last couple of years. So 2. So I'm getting better. I'm rarely late to anything. And I'll tell you, as a mom, as a dad, as a good example setter that we should be, let's work on being on time to places. Speaking of being on time, she's always on time because she's a mom and she just does things on time. Even though she may have some victories and some struggles, she still finds a way to get things done around her place. Welcome in my new friend, Kim. Kim, how are you?
I am good. I'm trying to stifle my laughter over here.
Yeah, it's the thing. People have asked me, they said, how do you write your introduction? I said, well, that's the best part. I really don't.
Write. Yeah, you don't.
I just take an idea and I just kind of weave it together and hope it makes sense. Do you find yourself struggling to be on time to places? You strike me as someone that is prompt, maybe even 10 minutes early.
I like to be prepared. So I like to be early. I like to get there and sit in my car for just a few minutes so that I'm not too nerdy early. Don't catch me late because that's embarrassing.
Now, define nerdy early. What is that?
Well, I want to walk into a crowd. I want there to be an audience. If I'm the first one there, who's going to welcome me? Come on.
That's funny. That is so hilariously funny to me. So you need an audience when Kim comes into the room. You need what, like a round of applause or something? Is that what you're going after?
I want people to see the outfit that I worked so hard to pick out. And I want them to see that I put an effort into my appearance. And if I'm the first one there, I'm welcoming everybody else, which is fine. I love people so much. And so I want to get there early so that I can talk to people, just have a lot of fun and loosen up. And I don't like to be the first and only one there. I want to be there with my friends.
Just for this very reason. Here you go. You ready?
Go, Kim. Go, Kim.
This is my favorite question to ask people as we get going and rolling. And that's this. What style of shoe would people notice about you at said party that you're being welcomed to?
You know, I thought about this question because I knew you were going to ask it. I like what one of your guests said, which was Puma. My favorite pair of shoes in my whole life. I don't really love wearing shoes, to be honest. I would rather just not. My favorite pair of shoes was a pair of Pumas. They were tan, so they got dirty pretty quickly. They were really small at the top, like the toe area was really small and tight. I felt like I could fly. Every time I wore those shoes, I just wanted to run, and they were light and they were small. They weren't clunky tennis shoes and they weren't dress shoes. They fit perfectly, and I just wanted to take off sprinting every time I put them on. And I played basketball in college in those shoes. Just pickup basketball, not real life basketball where I was on a team. Pickup basketball, and the heels were thicker. They ruined my toes. They were not basketball shoes. My toes were crammed at the top, and I played pickup less than an hour, and my feet hurt for days. And I was like, okay, noted. They're not good basketball shoes. Whenever I wore those, I felt most like myself. I'm a free spirit. I love to run. You give me an open space, I just want to take off running. And those shoes were the only one. And I've looked since then for Pumas that are small and light like those. I've never found like that perfect shoe again where it almost doesn't feel like a shoe.
No, it does. Wow. What you're saying, Kim, if I'm hearing you correctly, is I need to go out and get a pair of Puma shoes. It is the one shoe that I have not, well, I mean, there's a few. Skechers, Pumas, Converse probably, Birkenstocks. I got to do 4 because 4 is a biblical number, I'm sure.
You said you had fat feet, though, and I don't know if fat feet are good for Puma.
I don't know if I have flat feet or fat feet. Are you saying I have fat feet or flat feet?
Or maybe it was your guest who had the flat feet. I don't remember.
Ray. I was calling Ray Romano because it's more fun, but it's Rick. It's Rick Romano from our last season. I can't wear like Vans. Like we have some Vans up on our wall, and I can't wear those anymore. They hurt my feet. They're just too flat.
Puma is like cool, in my opinion. Okay. Puma's like a fashion upgrade from, I don't know. I just think Puma has always been like high end and also really small. They're not bulky. So it depends on if you like that. If you need like a tennis shoe that is sturdy, Pumas feel to me like they're more on the smaller, tighter end. So it depends on what's comfortable for you.
Gotcha. Well, the problem is I love Jordans, and that's the problem. I got to wear Jordans. And in fact, I was getting my hair cut yesterday, and the lady said to me, wow, you sure wear a lot of light blue. I was like, oh, sweetie, if you only knew. I didn't call her sweetie. Currently, this could change. You reside in South Carolina. We always like to give a little shout out of where folks are from, so we're excited about that. And you are not a Clemson Tiger, and you are not a South Carolina Gamecock. You are probably more a Michigan Wolverine. Hopefully, we have a few timeouts left to give you because your buddy Chris Webber was out of them apparently and didn't realize it. Sorry, I had to get that in. You do have Lion origins to you. Your fans and friends and family are all Detroit Lions, so shout out to the Lions. They're probably in the Super Bowl right now. Who knows? We don't know because it's January.
Oh, breathe it into existence.
Speak it into existence. There it is, Lions. My friend Craig Nielsen, he's a big Lions fan and a big Spartans fan. We're in this new season, this new series called X-Ray. Now, I was working at a body shop. I was checking in a car one day. This guy said, "Hey, how long are my repairs going to take?" And I said, "Well, sir, I'm not sure. We got to get it in. We got to take it apart. We got to see if there's any hidden or unseen damage that we can't see. It'd be great if we had like Thundercats. Did you ever watch that cartoon, sir?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, you ought to Google this. It's called Lion-O Thundercats." He holds up this sword of omens and he says, "Give me sight beyond sight." And he could see beyond where he was currently at. And I said, "Sir, that'd be great." And he goes, "Why don't you just call it X-ray vision?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. What did you say?" And he said, like Superman, X-ray vision. If you could see the hidden damage, you could have X-ray vision. And I said, "Hold on." And I this is embarrassing to admit, but I kind of had a Joe Biden moment, former President Joe Biden moment. I was like, and he's like, "You okay?" And he like shook me, quite literally shook me awake because I was on my phone typing in X-ray, sight beyond sight, hidden damage. That's how it works around here. When genius moments happen, when earth-shattering seasons come into my head, I have to write them down. Otherwise, I will forget.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we have X-ray. Now, again, we're not performing X-rays. We're not having any medical procedures done. We're not violating HIPAA rules for all my health friends out there. For you, when we talk about an X-ray, when we talk about this hidden or unseen damage, what resonated with you in that?
It just reminded me of the last 10 years of my life and how I'm a person on the outside. I have pain on the inside that people don't see. I think of infertility and how we have women walking around who are suffering, who are grieving, who are confused and lost and losing faith in God, that God will grow their family because they can't get pregnant. When you meet a beautiful woman who's successful and has a wonderful family, husband, you don't know that she cries herself to sleep at night because she can't get pregnant or because she's had her 5th miscarriage. And it's embarrassing to share because it's such a private thing that she's probably not going to tell you in the first 5 minutes of meeting you that she's grieving. I was that person. I was the person who put on a mask. I ran games for people's baby showers because I didn't want to sit there and do nothing because I thought I would lose it emotionally. So I said, "Hey, can I do the games?" And I would memorize a skit or I would put together a fun game that I knew would make everybody laugh. And then the attention would be off me of, "Hey, I want this baby shower to be me. And it's been 5 years or 6 years and it's still not me. And I don't know when it's going to happen. And I'm going to the doctor this weekend, but I can't afford the next test that they're asking me to do in order to figure out what's wrong." That's a big thing that was brought to mind when you said things that are unseen. Also, anxiety. I'm a very social, extroverted person. I love people. I love meeting new people. I have no problem walking into a room and just talking to strangers. I suffer from a type of anxiety that is overwhelm. When I worked at the bank, I got overwhelmed by the lines. There would be a long line of people and I would feel inadequate to perform my job and I would get the numbers mixed up and the money. It was such a high stress environment. They were asking me to sell credit cards and it didn't line up with my values. And I would have panic attacks, run to the bathroom thinking I was going to throw up. My chest was so tight and I couldn't stop crying. And then I'd have to suck it all up and go back out, sell more credit cards. It was just such a stressful environment that didn't fit who I was. Nobody would say, "Oh, Kim, she has anxiety. What does that? She's not an anxious person." With time, I did have people say, "You're really stressed out. You need to like calm down." And I never knew how exactly to calm down. I would get going so fast and then I wouldn't be able to keep up and I wouldn't be able to fulfill all the duties that I needed to get done. And then especially we adopted kids and I was overwhelmed by motherhood and everyone around me was so thrilled. Like, "You adopted a baby. She's beautiful. You're a mom. You've waited 10 years for this. And now you're a mom." At home, it was COVID and I was overwhelmed by the duties of motherhood and I was by myself and everyone was so happy for me. I was struggling.
Wow. I grew up in a church, still exists. I was on staff in the church. We made the biggest deal of Mother's Day. And I remember one Mother's Day in particular getting ready early because it's church staff life. You got to get there early. I was never early, by the way. I was constantly late. I knew ways to sneak in the back door that no one would notice. One Mother's Day in particular, I remember getting ready for church. And if you were up front, you were required to wear a dress shirt and necktie. So I was getting ready, getting the tie on, getting the shirt on. And I remember my wife saying to me, babe, I don't want to go. Can you just tell him I'm not feeling good? Yeah, sure. Uninvolved husband at that moment. Went to church, did the whole thing. Another spectacle, another parade of Mother's Day. And I got home and I started to realize for the first time probably in my marriage that my wife did not like Mother's Day at our church. And here's why. We would give every woman white carnation. It didn't matter. We would make everyone stand. We had Gladys, who's the oldest mom, and we'd have Susie, who's the newest mom, and we'd have the most kids mom, and just became such a thing. And it was a applaud here and applaud there. It just started to get me to realize it was in that moment. And it took a couple of times for me to go, well, Elizabeth, my wife is not standing. Is she ever going to stand? And then we get pregnant, and it's the most amazing thing ever. It's so great. I mean, I was working in a sales office, wholesale accessories, cell phone accessories all over the country. And so I had customers, all over the map. Remember, I had a customer in the University of Texas, believe it or not. We sold to their bookstore, and I remember telling this guy, Lance, hey, dude, you're never going to guess. We're pregnant. It's going to be amazing. Oh, man, her name is going to be Caroline. It's going to be so great. We lost the baby. And I remember somebody saying to me, hey, Neil, you'll be able to use this in ministry. You'll be able to minister to people. That's not what I'm thinking about. Great advice, by the way. Not in that moment. Mm-hmm. This sucks. This sucks for me as a husband. It sucked. We're never going to hold that baby. A couple of years go by and we get Adia, my daughter. Everyone has asked us through the years, why didn't you have more kids? And I've always made the joke, well, God's got so much going on. He gave us one. We're like, hey, God, we're good. Go on to someone else. You got bigger things to worry about. You got world peace to solve. You got Israel to figure out. We're good. But then I did a series on the show called Dear. And I was trying to figure out how to start the season because the whole idea, the whole premise was we were writing letters to people that for whatever reason we couldn't send them. Another brainstorm of an idea.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I love that idea.
And I said, okay, I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to write a letter to the baby we didn't have.
Aww.
And I believe he's a son. Some have pushed on that. I don't care. It's my story. I can make him a son if I want to. And I did. I wrote a letter to my son, Carter. And for years, my daughter always asked me when we'd go to places and they'd ask for a name or a coffee order or whatever, I would always use the name Carter. And she always asked me, Dad, why do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I just do. I just don't like giving my real name. That was my excuse. When I worked that out, though, it ended up being I gave the name because I wanted to keep somehow my son in my mind. And we went to dinner recently, my daughter and I did. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and a gal asked me for a name. And my daughter just chimes in, it's Neil. She looks at me and she goes, you know what, Dad? I'm sorry. You wanted to say Carter, didn't you? And I go, I did, but it's okay. And she goes, no, it's not. And she told the gal, actually, it's Carter. Sorry. Because my daughter said she listened to the episode and cried.
Oh,
A 17-year-old admitting she cried. So, newsflash. And again, I'm not trying to match story for story. I'm not trying to one-up you by no means. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm just saying infertility, it absolutely sucks. And if you've never put on those Pumas, if you've never put on those Air Force Ones, if you've never walked in those shoes, you have no idea the pain and the agony that comes with it. Why do you think people don't understand the pain that Kim walked through?
I remember those days of the Mother's Day parade where my mom had 7 kids. And so she was always one standing. And I was always really proud of that. And I never thought that it would touch me. I never thought that it would affect me. Out of those 7 kids, half of our kids are infertile. We've grown our families through adoption and IVF. Why do people not understand God gives life and it's natural and it's a natural desire for most women, and most women get to experience growing life? The statistics show that infertility is not the norm. The lonely woman at the baby shower is not the norm. I've been to so many baby showers. I've always been in the minority, and it's a secret. Most of the baby showers I went to when we were in seminary in Dallas were all women whose husbands were in the seminary program. So we were either waiting to have kids, our husbands were pumping out thousands of dollars each year and we couldn't afford kids. We were in our early 20s and we understood that, okay, well, a 5-year plan is wise because we just got married, we're newlyweds. we're in school, let's hold off. There was a few unexpected pregnancies and there was a few who were growing their families pretty quickly. I wasn't the only one not pregnant. I wasn't able to express my desire to be a mom. That wasn't the wise societal thing to do. I was only 23. I think women are made to want to be moms. A lot of us have been thinking about it for a long time, ever since we were playing as a child or babysitting as a teenager or getting married. You have that desire. I believe that God puts the desire, and not all women want to bear children. I definitely understand how some women don't have that desire and they feel like the odd ones out. They feel like, I can't tell people that I don't want kids. That's embarrassing because I'm supposed to want kids and I really don't feel like that's the top of my priority list right now. And
That's
yet I
my
have
daughter,
people
by the
asking
way.
me. Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
my daughter. Yeah. Well, that could change, but at 17, she said, I don't want kids. I'm like, well, that could change. We'll see.
It was one of the first conversations I had with my husband when we were early dating. I'm talking like weeks in. We were sitting on a dock and our feet were dangling in the Chattanooga River. I don't know what the name of the river was. Maybe the Tennessee River. I don't know. It was downtown Chattanooga. I wasn't a geography major, so I don't know the name of the river. I do remember staring at him and I said, "Hey, you made a joke the other day about kids, and I need to know, do you want to be a dad? Do you want kids?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to be a dad someday." And I'm like, "Well, how many kids are you thinking?" And he's like, 2. And I'm like, Psh, 2? That doesn't even make a family. Remember, I have 6 brothers and he has 1 sister. And I'm embarrassed to say that I made fun of his family. I said, your whole family, 4 people, is pretty much half of my family. And that's not counting my brothers' wives and their kids. You're a fraction of my nuclear family. And so I made fun of him for that. And I said, well, I want 5. And he's like, 5? Are you insane? I'm like, well, yeah. I want 5 kids. I want a big family. He's like, all right, well, we'll compromise on 3. When we get to where we've been married for 7, 8 years, trying to figure out what's next, we didn't even know if we were going to get one. And he started to want to adopt a sibling group. And I'm like, babe, I can't even express to you how much I want a baby. I don't talk about it. You are my best friend in the whole world. One night I was hiding on the top of the wash machine in the garage crying. I just needed to hide. I just needed him to not see me for a minute. And he found me and he's like, are you okay? I act like I don't care. I care. And it hurts so bad that we can't have a baby. And I really want a baby. And I don't like talking to you about it because it hurts too bad. When it feels like all the world is having a baby and everybody's talking about it. And you know, the gossip is always who's getting married and who's having a baby and who's dating and who's making a mistake. That's the town gossip. And when you're not included in that and your family's not growing, it's stagnant, you can feel really, really lost. And I don't know that people want to bring it up because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't know if it's taboo. I would say the best way for anyone to reach out to someone who they think might be hurting is to say, I'm thinking about you and I'm praying for you. Is there anything specific that you want me to pray for? How can I love on you? I think you're hurting and I want you to know that you're not alone. And that way you're not pinpointing them and saying, hey, I've noticed that you're not pregnant and I'm pretty sure you want to be pregnant. Is that a thing? How can I help you? No, you just reach out in love and say, you're not alone. I'm praying for you and I'm here for you. And that opens that door. Likely what's going to happen next is they're going to text you and say, hey, I'm really struggling today. Can you pray for me? Or I have a doctor's appointment on Friday. Can you pray for me? And that's what you want to do. You want to open that door and make them feel less alone.
It's powerful what you're saying. It's what I had in mind when I was talking about this series. I never know what we're going to get. We kind of keep it open-ended on purpose. I know people throw rocks at The Chosen, the TV show The Chosen, the series, whatever. Last year was watching The Chosen, and so I'm going to wreck it if you haven't seen it. There's a scene where Jesus is walking on the water. It's him and Peter. And the background that they weave in there, because it's not in scripture, of why Peter was so mad. Peter and his wife, Peter was one of the disciples that we do know was married. There is evidence of that. There is talk of that. Scripture even talks about him being married. His mother-in-law being sick. How does he have a mother-in-law? Clearly he was married. There's a scene in there where Peter and his wife, and she and Peter are going to have a baby, and it's very exciting, and it's very thing, and then she ends up having a miscarriage. And Peter's mad because the whole time he's chilling with Jesus, like he's healing people left and right and saving people left and right, and Peter's like, well, what about me and my wife? What, you really? You're not going to save You're not going to save her? You're not going to save the baby? And she goes through this like ritual ceremony, and there's a scene where he doesn't want to get out in the boat, but he does. He gets out of the boat, and it's not this like, interaction that's like so peaceful and awesome. He's like yelling at Jesus, like, you could have saved her. You could have saved the baby. And then he starts to sink. And that's when Jesus reaches into the water, and the way they shot it, it's just fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. He grabs his hand under the water and pulls him up, and Peter's holding on to him so tightly. He's like, don't let me go. Promise me you won't let me go. And he just keeps repeating it. I'm so sorry. Promise me you won't let me go. Promise me you'll never let me go. I'm watching this on a plane.
Oh boy.
Coming back to Oregon. And I'm like weeping on the plane. And my wife's like, you good? No, I'm not. And I get off the plane, the stewardess is like, you okay, sir? Sir, are you okay? 7A, are you okay? We weren't in 7A. We're not that close. In those moments with people, I want so bad to just put my arms around them and say, he's never going to let you go. Guys suffer in silence too. Maybe not as bad as girls, but I think it's maybe not equal, similar in some scenarios. I think there's so many people that just need that hug in that moment. Emotional, it's going to be okay. I feel like deep down in their heart, and maybe you would feel this way too, if somebody had come and done that to Kim, I think you might have looked at him and said, cool, you're a liar.
Right. You're exactly right.
We sing this song in church all the time, and I hate it. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. You're a liar, Chris Tomlin. I'm going to write to you. I'm going to tweet you. You're a liar. That song is a liar. If God is such a good, good father, why does he allow it to happen? The classic. Right. Why do bad things happen to good people? You seem like a good person, Kim.
Well, one project I'm working on right now is the exploration of why does God call us to do things that we don't feel capable of doing? When we look up and say, I can't do this. I don't know who you think you called. It was the wrong number because I am incapable of handling this emotionally. I can't even tell you how many times throughout the years. I mean, it started in college when I was an RA and I was staying up till midnight and I was taking care of 20 girls on our floor who some of them were sneaking out at night and some of them were going and getting drunk off campus and coming back and lying to me and then throwing up on the floor. And I'm like, you're clearly drunk and you're lying to me and saying you're not. Who was I to deal with that? I mean, she was my same age. Then it moved on to getting married, and my husband and I are complete opposites, and we had to figure out, did I marry the right person? And yeah, his name is on the marriage certificate. That's what John Piper says. If you wonder if you married the right person, just check the marriage certificate because that's what'll tell you. My husband's amazing. He's a total introvert. And I am a total extrovert. God put us together. We've been married almost 15 years. And I can see this year, as we were working together in foster care, what a huge blessing our personalities have been this year to support each other. It's taken, 14 and a half years. We've worked together side by side this year. We're essentially coworkers, and his strengths are evident and my strengths are evident, and we're able to complement each other. Going back to what you were saying about the good, good father, when we look up at God and say, and I remember I left a church service when they were singing that song. I went to the bathroom and I started crying. And I said, I cannot sing those words. I cannot sing those words right now. And you know what? God is gracious and he knows that I couldn't emotionally, in truth and vulnerability, say, you're a good, good father. I was sick. I was infertile. I was in a job that I didn't like. I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. And some days I could barely get out of bed. I cried. And I think what I'm seeing as I'm researching this idea of God calling us even when we don't feel capable is that his goal is to have the scene of Jesus and Peter on the water, where Peter's complete dependence is on Jesus to keep him on the water. And Peter, in his own strength, will fall. Peter, in his own strength, his feet will slip under that water because he's thinking about his wife. He's thinking about his unborn baby. He's thinking about his loss, his grief, his future. He's confused. But Jesus is right there. And Jesus is saying, in your pain, in your grief, in your loss and confusion and doubt and anger, I am still right here. And I want to be here with you because our relationship is more important than any circumstance. And so when we come to God and say, I can't freaking do this, I can't, I'm incapable, he says, I know that's the point. Let me hold you. Let me walk with you. Let me show you how we can do it together. Let me provide things in your life and provide people that you can depend on. And let me show you how faithful I can be because I'm calling you to do this work and I'm right there with you. I will hold you. I will lead you and guide you. And my life has never been more fulfilling than when I am at my weakest. I think it's 2 Corinthians 12:9 or 1 Corinthians 12:9. I forget which one. In our weakness, he is strong. And in our weakness, he shows up. I want to explore that more because I feel weak often. I feel weak when I'm raising 2 toddlers and a bunch of foster kids. I am weak when God is calling me to move again. And I say, Lord, I just moved a year ago or 2 years ago. I've lived in so many houses. I can't move again. I can't uproot and start over again. And yet he provides. He provides the support system. He provides a loving husband who seeks God's will before anything and seeks to provide for his family before anything. And I just take it one day at a time and I throw up my hands and say, I can't do this. Help me do it.
But there's so many times in life that I wonder what people do that don't have that relationship, that aren't married, that don't have a faith, that don't have 87 brothers who are diehard Lions fans. I wonder about Charlotte. I have no idea who she is. I just made up a name. But I wonder about her who's hearing you right now. Her coworker said, hey, have you heard this crazy show? It's called Other People's Shoes. They've been doing it for like 6 years now. This guy's a little kooky. He's a little weird. He's apparently in North Carolina, but not in North Carolina. He's in Oregon. He's upset. Anyway, you should listen to this girl that he had on today named Kim. And Charlotte listens to you. And she said, you know, Kim, that's great. You have Kevin, your husband. You have this support system. You have these amazing people surrounding you, this applause every time you come into a room. What would you say to her?
My job is to love the ones who are in my path. I pray that she's in someone's path that can show her the tangible love of God. God's love is everywhere, and yet you really need to experience it to find hope. If she's seeking, she's in someone's path who's showing her God's love. And who is that person in her life that is showing her God's love and grace? My job, we all want to save the world. We all want to feed all the hungry children. We want to adopt all the foster kids. We want to bring peace, and we can't. We have to say, I can only love the ones that God sends me in my path. And sometimes that feels too small. Feels like, well, I'm basically doing nothing. I'm just going to my job or interacting with people in my church and my family, and everybody's Christians. And so who am I to reach anybody? The Lord sends us people in our path who need his love and his grace. And I'm under the belief that Christians struggle just as much as unbelievers sometimes. Bad things happen to good people. I think a lot of Christians are like, you know what? I feel like I'm losing hope, and I'm the one who's supposed to have hope. And I felt that before. I'm the Christian. I'm the one who's supposed to trust God. Everything's going to be okay. And yet I feel pretty hopeless. And I feel like I don't know where God is. The seeking of God is what draws me closer to him. The crying out to him. The Psalms. David was real. He didn't hold anything back. I mean, that man was out there under a tree with a guitar, just like going to town, like, Lord, where are you? Where are you? You have forsaken me. My enemies are chasing after me, and someone is going to kill me. And he probably wondered where God was, just like the unbeliever, just like the believer. We're all seeking God. We have to look for the moments and the people who bring us grace. We have to look for the faithfulness of a friend. We have to look for in the Bible. We seek scripture. It doesn't mean we're going to open the Bible and exactly find the right answer that says, hey, I think you should take this job, Kim. I would love that. I would love for there to be a Bible reference that tells me exactly what to do when my toddler's throwing her fifth tantrum of the hour. It doesn't. It says there's grace, there's love. And you have to accept it. It's there. You have to accept it. And sometimes that's really, really hard, but it is there.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some projects. I've heard there is a book that I think is very relevant to the ocean and the sea and the walking on said sea, and maybe some seashells and some seagulls in the background. Tell me more about that.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I'm not talking about this amazing thing called struggling while through the difficult seasons. Isn't that not you?
Nothing wasted? Yeah, but where's the ocean? I'm confused about the ocean.
Your book cover looks like waves. Does it? Am I looking at the... Hold on, let me turn my head upside down.
It's art. Art is subjective.
It looks like the ocean. That's why
Or
I used the
mountains.
Peter reference. This is
Oh,
embarrassing.
you're tying it all together and I'm totally missing it, aren't you?
I tried to tie it all together. It seriously looks like the ocean.
You're right. I mean, it could be. I think I gave the book cover ideas to the book cover people and I said, hey, I just want it to be beautiful. Here's some ideas. And they came back with a book cover that I didn't like. It was like flowery and like dark purple and dark blue. And I was like, that's too depressing and melancholy. I need something a little bit brighter. And so they came back with the book cover that ended up being the final. And I said, yes, that is exactly it. And we were all trying to figure out what exactly is it? Is it a flow of river? Is it mountains? Like, what is exactly the art behind the words on the front cover? I think it's beautiful. There's a sun, there's some birds. I think they put some trees on there and on the back cover, and I didn't like the trees. And I said, you need to take the trees off. They look like Moses and the burning bush. Please remove those. I don't want those. The rest is fine. So yes, you are referring to, I think, my book, Nothing Wasted Through Difficult Seasons, 10-ish years. It talks specifically about those hidden emotions that not everybody sees. It talks about being called to do things and not feeling capable. It talks about hiding and feeling lonely when everyone around you thinks you're doing okay. It talks about losing my crap in public. That has happened. There's been incidents where my husband and I have been filled with absolute fear and terror that we were going to lose our daughter. There's moments in the book of immense pain and struggle and not knowing how God was going to lead and guide. And yet every year of my life, every month that goes by, he sustains me, and it's nothing short of a miracle. I want to be that person that says nothing is wasted. Everything we go through, although it feels really, really difficult in the moment. And sometimes I've had moments this week where I'm like, man, I feel like a failure again. How did I mess up again? And my support system have just come behind me and they've said, Kim, please don't believe the lie that you're a failure. You are doing the best you can do. It just might mean that maybe this isn't a good fit for you, or you need to try again. I have to believe them, because otherwise I will just sink into the pit of despair of, I'm a failure. I can't do it. I don't want to live there. It's for anyone who has felt like, man, I spent a year at that job and then they fired me, or I quit and it was just all wasted. Nothing good came out of it. Or I was in a relationship and now it's over and all those years are they're just wasted. I wasted so much time. I believe that nothing is wasted and we can learn to struggle well. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to struggle till the day I die. I want to struggle well. I want to fight. I don't want to give up. That's kind of who the book is written for. Those who struggle, but don't want to give up.
It's not a meadow of royal fortress. It's not that.
If you think that you have it all together and you should be voted whoever of the year, that book's not for you. You can probably read another book called like You Are a Bad A. I think that would be a good book for you, because that's maybe more up your alley.
It's got a
But
blue
this book
donkey
is
on the
for-
front of it.
Yeah, have I read that book? I feel like one of the teenagers started reading me from the first couple chapters of that, of just empowering, like, yeah, you can do it. You are awesome. This book is more like, I see you. You're not alone. We all struggle, and that doesn't make us a failure. What have we learned in our struggle? I'm reading a book right now called The Gap and the Gain, and they talk about how to measure your success backwards. Neil, if you were to think of the last year of your life, you think, look how far I've come. Look what I've learned. Look how I've grown. Look how my relationship with my wife and my daughter have grown. Instead of looking forward and saying, I want to be this kind of dad. I want to be this kind of husband. I want to be this kind of podcast host and church member and whatever. You think, who was I a couple years ago? And where have I grown? And where have I succeeded in ways? If I'm comparing myself to other people, I look like a loser. But if I compare myself to myself, I've grown. And that's how I want to live, is just in this mode of, hey, look at my daughter. 6 months ago, she was not sleeping, or she was not potty trained, or she was not talking. And now, I mean, yesterday she came up to me and said, Mommy, can I please have a sandwich? Or my older daughter, Mommy, can I please make myself a sandwich? Like, look how far they've come. Let's celebrate how far we've grown instead of comparing ourselves to either someone else or a future self.
So how can folks reach out to Kim and know more about all things Kim and get a copy of the book?
My website's kimpatton.com. If you go there, there's links to everything. The book is available on ebook, paperback, and audio, and I read the audiobook. I have had a few people that have said, hey, I enjoyed like listening to you read your own book because it felt really real. They've enjoyed that experience. So if you're an audiobook person, I would definitely recommend that. And if you can't afford it, just send me a message and I'll try to get you a free copy. I have a Substack that I write on, and I'm working on a new book. Just sign up for the email list and you'll be updated on all things book to come.
Very exciting. A Meadow of Royal Fortress. That just kind of snuck by you. You didn't acknowledge that. I worked hard on that.
I don't know what you're talking about, Neil. You're going to have to break it down for me.
That's what Kimberly means.
I do remember a royal something.
All right. From the Meadow of Royal Fortress.
You're right. I think that
Snuck that right by you. Just anyway.
Yeah, but that's so not me. I'm not.
I could tell that already, and we just met.
Yeah, I'm not queen of the castle.
No.
I'm like the Joker.
You're to clean of the castle. That's true. Yeah, you were to clean of the castle. Yeah. Right.
I'm like the Joker in the front room, like juggling for the people that come in to see the queen of the castle. Yes.
Well, my wife is Elizabeth, so I often call her the queen. She's the queen of that. She's the queen of the. The queen of the house. Yeah. I know you've been on a number of shows. I don't know how this ranks in comparison to others. You probably haven't heard this, but it is the fastest growing game in the podcast community, and Zach is going to take it away. Zach.
It's now that time in the show to play the fastest growing game in the podcast world. We call it Heel Hustle. Today our guest will try to answer all 6 of these questions in 60 seconds or less to win an Amazon gift card. Amazon not responsible for this commercial spot, nor did they pay to let us use their name. Audience, feel free to play at home. Are you ready? Let's put 60 seconds on that clock. Ready, set, hustle!
The game begins in 3, 2.
All right, Kim, here you go. Season 19, Heel Hustle. New questions. If you could walk in someone else's shoes for a week, whose footwear would you choose?
Probably Ray Romano.
Nice. What is your favorite smell to smell?
Vanilla candles.
Nice. That you will never forget. An unforgettable comment that just fit perfectly at the time.
Someone told me in college that I should join the volleyball team, even though I didn't make my serves over the net, and I was shocked, and I've held on to that for, 15 years.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten on shoes?
Beauty is pain, so get the high heels. I've never agreed with that.
What is one skill you wish you could tie up?
Tie up? Like be better or be worse?
Yeah, be better at, I guess. I don't know. Who wrote these?
I'm really good at Spanish, and I want to actually be a Latina. I want to be totally fluent and never make any more mistakes ever, which isn't going to happen. I love the Spanish language.
What always makes you kick your heels up with laughter?
Oh, my babies. My babies are so silly. I love them so much and they make me laugh.
Last message you would give to somebody who maybe is in your shoes or in a similar pair of Pumas? What would you say to them?
You're not alone. Don't give up. Just keep going.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you giving us some moments today. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been super fun. I didn't get all your jokes, so you can edit out anything I didn't understand. It was really fun. I laughed a lot, so thank you.
My wife says that. She's like, you need to work on your jokes because you have these like secret jokes that you think people get and they don't get them. And then it's awkward. It's like, who's it awkward for, me or them? She's like, I don't know. It just would seem awkward. Listens every week. All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. That is our show today. You know, there's that nursery rhyme. How's it go? Rockabye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. Then the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all. High five that I remembered that from Mother Goose. I don't know where I pulled that out of. You know, I wonder about that for you right now. Is there a lady in your life that has stared at that baby section in Target? And I'm not trying to be funny. They won't walk through the baby section. They don't go to all the baby things. I think Kim would echo this. She doesn't have it all together. She's not super mom, perfect mom. She's just a lady who's walked through some pain. So I ask you today, if there's a lady in your life, or maybe this is even you listening, can you really give it up? Can you really give it over? Can you really allow people to see the x-ray result and see that hidden damage, that sight beyond sight, and let people in? If you can, awesome. I'd love to know. If you still can't, I get that too. But maybe secretly you could just, pass a message to me through study hall and through math class and maybe the note of old. Let us know. We'd love to help you try to get over this. OPSpodcast.com is a great place to let us know. You can let us know on the socials at OPS Podcast Show, a little different, under Facebook, Instagram, and X. And of course, don't forget this. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes.